Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Friday Live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Canada, and today I'm sharing a new to me technique. Now, I've seen this around for a little while. It was quite trendy. Actually, I think it still is quite trendy. It's a technique using vellum and rubbing alcohol. So we're going to go and we're going to play with that today. I'm going to share what I created, a couple projects that I've created using that technique. But first, before we get started, I am going to share a little peek at some of the projects for my upcoming October classes. Okay, so let me slide this out of the way. All right, first of all, we're going to start with a monthly class that I'm offering. So this class it's spread over the course of a month. So every week you get an email, and in the email there are two projects, a card project and then a scrapbook layout. And you get a photo, you get measurements, and you get a link to a video showing you how to create the projects. And all of the projects are focused around the Painted Seasons suite of products. So I thought I'd share a quick little flip through of some of the projects that we'll be creating this month. So those are some of the cards. And then you'll also be invited to a private Facebook group where I will be doing a couple Facebook Lives. So this one is a 2-page spread. I know you guys can't see them all, but just little peeks. So lots and lots of fun projects. So every Thursday morning, an email goes out to anybody who's participating in the class. And the first email went out yesterday, but it's not too late for you to register. In the description, I've posted a link to where you can find more information on that. Okay, so I can send you yesterday's information if you register for the class. All right. And then on October 26th, we are doing our Christmas card class, and we're focusing on the Candy Canes background stamp set. These are the 3 cards that we'll be making. We'll be making 2 of each, and then I'll be sharing a few other bonus projects with you as well. So again, if you check out the description, you'll find a link to more information on that. And then I've got registration for the Christmas album class that is coming up. Registration for all of these classes actually closes on the 10th, so you'll want to make sure that you register sooner than later. So this class is a class to go. Every year I create a holiday album, and you can find a flip through of this album on my blog. Again, just follow the description, but it's a complete album. So you'll have an album completely finished, ready for you to pop in your holiday photos. Okay, so registration for that closes right away. And then last but not least, I'm trying to reach here. It's a little bit too far. Oh, I gotta get up. Okay, last but not least is the Nuts About Squirrels class. So this is a class that I'm doing for free for my VIPs. But if you'd like a kit, you have until the 10th to place an online order of $60 or more. These are the 3 projects that we'll be creating. And last week I shared in a Facebook Live the cutest little mini jam jar holder using the Nuts About Squirrels. And I'm going to create something else today using the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. So this stamp set, actually, it's one that I overlooked, but it's super cute. It's so cute, and it's not my usual style. So it's kind of fun to play with something a little bit different. Okay, so for any of those classes, just hit that link in the description, and you'll find out all the information that you need. If you have questions that aren't answered in that information, feel free to leave me a message, and I'm happy to answer them. Okay, so like I said, we are going to play around with our Stampin' Blends, vellum, and some rubbing alcohol today and create a fun background. Many of you have probably seen this. Some of you might have even tried it. So what you're going to need is you're going to need rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, and you want a high concentration of alcohol. So this one is one that I found at, I believe it was Superstore, and it's 99%. Okay, so you want something higher than the normal 70 whatever % that most of us have for other techniques that we've done. You'll also want some vellum cardstock, which we sell in our annual catalog, and then you'll want a collection of Stampin' Blends. Okay, so I've been wanting to try this technique for a very long time, and just finally got around to doing it yesterday. And I was hesitating because I am not a messy crafter. I don't really like to get messy, and I was worried about how messy it would get, and just, I don't know, I like things to be quick and easy. And so this technique actually is quick and easy. Now that I realize, it just, I don't know, it's something about it intimidated me, but it's so fun. Okay, so what you'll need is a piece of vellum, and I do encourage you to cut it a little bit larger than the size that you actually want it. And then I've just got a piece of chipboard left over from an embellishment pack or paper pack. I don't even know what it's from. But I'm just going to use some washi tape to kind of hold it down in place. Okay, for some reason my comments keep disappearing here. All right, let's see who's watching. Good morning, Lorraine and Gail and Kathy and Mary Liz. Oh, Mary Liz got her stamp yesterday. And Karen, how are you, Karen? Now that you've all moved to BC, are you all settled in your place? Okay, so I'm going to start with using some of my Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to use 3 different colors and the dark version of all 3 colors. So I've got Mango Melody, Cajun Craze, and Cinnamon Cider. And I do find that the dark markers work best. You can use some lighter colors, but use the dark in the lighter colors. And I'll share another project with you where I used Mint Macaron, which is a lighter color. So I'm taking the lightest of the 3 colors and just coloring messily in random areas on here. And then I'm going to take the second largest color, or darkest color, sorry, and fill in some of these spots. And it's okay if you have space in between. You don't have to butt right up into it, because we can fix that when we go to add our alcohol. I'll bring it up a little closer. Actually, you guys can see it pretty well. I don't know if I'll need to bring it up a little closer. Okay, so, and don't overthink it, just add color wherever. And then I'll go and fill in all of the empty spaces with the cinnamon cider. Good morning, Tracy. So just color in all those empty spaces. And it's much easier to do with the brush tip than the fine tip. It's just a lot faster. Okay, so we've got something that looks like that, which doesn't look very nice, but we're going to fix that. Okay, and then what I've done is I've taken one of my old aqua painters and filled it with some of that isopropyl alcohol. Okay, and I used an old aqua painter first of all, because that way I can leave the alcohol in this. So I've distinguished it with just a little bit of washi tape wrapped around it, so I know it's not water. And I used the old aqua painter because I like how you can squeeze the aqua painter and the liquid comes out. Our newer ones, it doesn't come out as nicely, and you want to be able to get it quite moist. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. What you also can do, if you only have the new water painters, what you can do is you can fill your cup, the cup of the alcohol bottle with some alcohol and just dip it. But I found that this was just so much faster. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I've got a paper towel here, and I'm just going to make sure I've got no colors left on my water painter. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to squeeze and kind of tap. And I found that some colors, you notice it reacting right away, and other colors it takes a little bit longer to react. So I'm just tapping it. So you can see that the color is much brighter. And once I go into the darker colors, you guys will be able to see kind of the reaction that it's getting. But it's giving you kind of like a watercolored, similar to a watercolored look. And look at how it gets those marks when it blends into the other colors. I just love that. Okay, now I'm gonna go on the paper towel and just make sure that it's clean. I'm gonna go to the next darkest color. So for this one, you'll be able to see a little bit better. So, and I did find that having it taped down like this did help. I mean, you'll see that it still will curl up, but the first one, well, the first couple that I didn't even think about taping it down, and I'll show you what happens once we're finished this here. Okay, so can you see how it's starting to get that kind of watercolored, blotchy, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just so pretty. It's very similar to the look in our Artistic Expressions DSP. So I'm just going into all of the Cajun Craze, and I'm like pretty much continually squeezing this because you want to add a fair bit of alcohol. The more alcohol that you add, the more like liquidy it gets, like this, like watered down. And you can take a paper towel and just tap off any excess if you find that it's pooling too much. So now I'll just clean this, and I'll go into my cinnamon cider. So, and the other reason why I chose to have a dedicated water painter for this is because you're tapping, you will find that the tip of your water painter will start to kind of spread out and just wear down just a little bit. But it doesn't matter what the tip looks like for this technique. So if I keep this one basically just for this style of technique, then I don't need to worry too much about it. All right, there we go. So let me bring this up a little closer so you can see. You see how pretty that looks? Isn't that awesome? So now at this point, you can take your heat tool and you can heat it up if you are impatient and you just want to move on to the next step. But because we've got some other things to do, I'm just going to set it aside and let it dry. Okay, so I'll put it behind me here. We'll come back to that in a minute. Such a fun technique, and see how easy that was, and it was not messy at all. Okay, so now I've got a cinnamon cider card base, standard size card, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. I've got a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch white cardstock. That's going to be for the inside. And then I've got a piece of white that measures 3 3/4 by 5. And I've gone ahead and I've embossed it using the Timber 3D embossing folder. I'm not sure, can you guys see that? I love this embossing folder. And then I've got a piece of Cajun Craze cardstock that measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. This piece is going to go on top of that. I've got a scrap of white, and I need another scrap of white. I'm missing a piece to stamp on. Let me just grab that. I need a piece big enough. Come on. Oh, here we go. Oh, I don't know if these are big enough. Okay, let's just grab a whole sheet here. All right. Okay, and we're going to do our stamping on here. So we're going to use this adorable little squirrel that's holding the acorn. I'm going to use Memento ink. Ink it up and then just stamp it down. Now this stamp set is a 2-step stamp. So what that means is it comes with images that you can ink that up in a color, and stamp it onto this guy. This guy goes on this guy, and then we've got some leaves with some veins to go inside, and then the top and bottom of the acorn to add color to the acorn. But I don't want to use it as a two-step stamp today. I'm going to color him in using some Stampin' Blends. So I'm going to use, he's going to be colored in using cinnamon cider, and I'm going to throw in a bit of ivory. So those are the three colors that I'm going to use for the squirrel. And then for the acorn, I'm going to use crumb cake and soft suede. Okay, so those are the colors that I'm going to use today. Actually, today I just realized I'm going to share 3 different ways that you can use Stampin' Blends. So that alcohol technique was the first technique, and then this is another way that you can use Stampin' Blends, and this is to color in, which is, I think, the most obvious way. So I'm going to start with my dark and just add a little bit of dark right here, down here, and you can see that I didn't go right to the edge, and you'll see why in a minute here. And then I'm going to add a little bit here around the acorn, under the acorn, and under his arm. And then I'm going to take the light cinnamon cider, and there isn't a whole lot of difference between the two colors, and just add a little bit more detail, or a little bit more color, I guess. And then I'm going to color the rest in using the ivory. And this, I'm going to go over what I've already colored and just fill in the rest of the space. Okay, and the more you go over it, the more it blends. So that's one of the reasons why I did not go over right close to the edge, is because the more layers of color you add, the more it bleeds. And so if it bleeds into the edge, that's fine, because there's no color there. So I'm just filling it in, and then we'll go over it, especially where that transition is between the light cinnamon cider and the ivory, because there's such a big contrast in there. Okay, and then we'll do the tail. And I'm going to leave just a little bit of white space on the tail, right about there. So I'll just draw that in there, leaving that white. And again, just coloring over. So can you see how it bled into the edges without bleeding outside the lines? So there's a little tip for you, especially if you're coloring like a larger surface. I find that quite helpful. So, and you can go over it as much as you like until you're happy with the look. Okay. Oh, I gotta do his ears. All right. And then we're gonna add a little bit of dark soft suede around. Like you can see that it's kind of blended in a little bit here on the top of the acorn. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of dark here, and then a little bit of light. Again, there's not a huge difference between the two. And then I'll take the light crumb cake and fill in the rest. Again, just leaving a little bit of a white space there. And then I'm going to come in with some dark. Crumb cake, and just add dark on here and then fill in with the light. Again, just leaving a little bit of white space there. All right, and then he's all colored in. There aren't dies to go along with that, so I've gone ahead and I've fussy cut him. Okay, now the third technique that we're going to do with our Stampin' Blends is we're going to do some splattering. So I've got some dark basic black, and this is really the only thing that I use my dark basic black for, because I find that dark basic black is so dark. It's really, really dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to splatter with it. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and just add some splatters. So there's 3 different techniques that you can do using our Stampin' Blends markers. Okay, so now we'll take this guy, flip it over, and I'm going to use multi-purpose glue. And because this is embossed, I'm going to add adhesive all the way around. Normally I say a little bit of adhesive goes a long way, and I just add it to the corners. But because this has a bit of texture, I want it to sit flat. And this is just going to have a tiny little bit of a border. So just a little bit of that Cajun craze will be sticking out from behind. All right, and then that is going to go onto our card base. And again, we're going to use multi-purpose glue. So this is how much glue I normally use. When you're using a good glue, one that adheres really well, you really don't need a lot. Okay, so our card base is ready. So now let's pull back our piece here, and it's looking pretty good. Yeah, so you'll find that it will have some kind of glossier areas, but those are dry. Like nothing is coming off, nothing is smearing. So it's all dry. Okay, so let me show you the difference. By taping it down like that, see how flat that is? The first 2 that I did, this is what they look like because I didn't tape them down. And the other thing that happened is when you don't, oh, I guess it goes this way. When you don't tape them down and they start to curl up, one of the things that you'll notice is you have a little bit less control over where the ink or where the alcohol is going. So sometimes you'll end up with like something that looks really muddy if the colors don't blend well together. Okay, so by taping your piece down, you have a little bit more control, because if you don't like how it's looking, you can always quickly dab it. And I guess you could do that even if you don't have it taped down, but I feel like you have a little bit more control, and it's less messy because you don't have to try to hold it down, right? So you can see I've got no ink on my fingers. Okay, so that's a little tip. That's lesson learned from me. Okay. All right, so this piece of vellum, I had cut it down to, it was 4 by 4 1/4. So now I'm going to trim that down into some strips. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off this little tiny bit that where you can see there's no color, where the tape was holding on to it. And let's trim off this side as well. Okay, so now this is 4 inches. So I'm going to cut 1 inch off here. This is going to be for the inside of my card. And then these bits here, or this bit, I'm going to rotate it because this is now 3 inches. And I'm going to cut 1, 2, 3. So I have 4 strips. I actually only need 3. Okay, I'll get rid of this. So I've got 3 strips that measure 1 by 3 inches. And now for adhesive, I like to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. And it rolls on nicely and you can't see the adhesive through what you've done. Okay, so this is going to go on like that. We'll grab another strip. And this adhesive is really strong adhesive. We're going to put another piece like this. Doesn't that look cool? When you put it on the white, it looks so amazing. It makes that pattern just really pop. I love it. Okay, and then this piece is going to go on like that. Okay, so that's going to be a placeholder for our little squirrel. I just need to grab, I had it here, here we go, some black baker's twine. And we'll cut, I don't know, maybe 12 inches. Let's start with that. And we'll add just a little bit of adhesive in behind here. And we're just going to, actually, I'm going to separate this so it's a little bit finer. This is something that I like to do with my baker's twine. It stretches the use, but it also gives that look of a fine thread. So I've pulled out about I think it's two threads. So I'm going to start with that and see how it looks. So I've got a little bit of adhesive on the back of my squirrel, and I'm just going to do some loops here. Okay, yep, that's good. We're going to pop him up using some dimensionals. The dimensionals will also help hold the twine in place. And we're going to turn this into a birthday card because I need a birthday card for my sister-in-law, and I thought this would be really cute. Okay, so we will put this right about there. Okay, and then this little strip of white that I have, I'm going to take the Happy Birthday Greeting, which is from the same stamp set, the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. So now, see, this is all the baker's twine that I have left, so I can use that for a different project. And I think if I had kept it whole, it would have been just a bit too heavy because it's black and it's so dark. Stamp the happy birthday there. And then I do want to trim it down. It's a little bit long. Let's use some scissors for that. Or a little bit wide. Well, it's a little bit long too. So I'm just going to trim this. Try to get it somewhat straight. And trim off the bottom. So I think this strip was about 1/2 inch. If you cut it about 1/4 inch, you'd probably not have to trim it. So trim it down that way and then angle cut it this way. Then I'm going to take my bone folder and just kind of curl it like this. And we're going to take our dimensionals. I'm going to add 2 dimensionals in the raised portion. And then some flat adhesive on either end. And then this is going to get tucked kind of right underneath here. Let's see, it's too long to go there. just like that. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add some, oh, well, this says it's opal rounds. They're not opal rounds, they're black enamel dots. And let me grab my take your pick tool. And we'll do a big one and a small one, a couple small ones. There we go. Is that not the cutest little card? And that background is so fun. Okay, so now we're going to take the inside, and the only thing that I'm going to do to the inside is just add some more of that pattern. And again, you're going to see just how, okay, so it looks great like that, but when you put it on the white, seriously, it just looks so amazing. Look how nice. The colors just pop so beautifully. All right, now we'll take this and again just add a little bit of adhesive to the four corners. The other thing, when I use this adhesive, I don't put it too close to the edge, because that way it is a liquid glue, so it will seep, it'll like push itself outwards or inwards, and that way you don't get stickiness around the edges. There we go. And there's the inside. Isn't it cute? Love it. So hopefully you guys want to participate in the Nuts About Squirrels class. If you're a VIP member in my VIP group, then you will get the class for free. But if you want the pre-cut kits, then if you spend a minimum of $60 using this host code by the 10th, then I will send you the pre-cut kits. Class is on the 20th at 9:30 a.m., but it is recorded, and anybody who places an order, I will send you the PDF as well, so that you can do it at any time. All right. And I thought I would share another one that I made. So this, I did a Christmas one using some different colors. So exactly the same technique. The colors that I used on this one are dark polished pink, dark misty moonlight, and dark mint macaron. So you can see even the lighter colors, they still work, but you just want to use the dark version of the blends when you do it. The light version, some of them are really light and really hard to see. But you can see that you play around with the colors, you can get such a beautiful look. So fun, and I can't wait to do this for a scrapbook page. I think it would be a fun background on a scrapbook page. All right, so thanks so much for watching. Just a reminder, all of those classes that I shared at the beginning of this video, registration closes on the 10th, so make sure that you register before then. All right, thanks for watching, and have a fabulous weekend, and happy Thanksgiving. All right, take care. Bye, guys.